Hey folks, Jer here at The View for this week's podcast and match review for Leeds United 1, Rotherham United 1, joined by Max from Leeds Lately and Kev from Leeds House. Max, before we get into the game, how are you and how's your week been, mate?
It's been all right, but just expecting to come back after the international break and have a bit of Leeds to watch again, and it's just obviously a very disappointing result, so we'll get into that.
Yeah, Kev, how about you, mate?
Week's been fine. Watched two great international matches for England. Played both teams off the park. Look forward to a lovely Leeds game on a Friday, and then it does this to you. So yeah, weekend ruined.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of international football, and I wasn't a fan of what I saw on Friday night either. So not a good week of football. Yeah, we might as well get into this straight away, and we'll just crack into it. 1-1 going up. We're 1-0 up inside 7 minutes. For me, we take our foot off the gas as we've done in far too many games this season. Huddersfield, Plymouth, QPR second half, Norwich start to a degree against. We started against Norwich. This performance has been in this team. At times, we've done some really good things. At times, we're a very, 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 very good team when we move the ball quickly and we're at a high tempo and we're moving fast. And we can look like a very, very, very average side when we slow it down against poor sides. And it's another team, Max, down the bottom of the table that have caused us problems. What were your overall thoughts on the performance and the result?
Do you know what and it wasn't necessarily reflective of last night that much, but something that I thought of yesterday about the way that we are struggling against some of the teams that are lower down the table is almost a little bit like these teams are what we were last season under Jesse Marsh, where they're terrible against the teams around them. But when they go and play the big sides who are coming out and trying to play out from the back, if they just press a little bit, it kind of works sometimes. And that we saw that last season and the season before when we managed to get results against like top 6 sides in the Premier League, but then would really, really struggle against teams around us. And we need to find a way of getting through that, because the only sort of team that doesn't work on was Man City, and they obviously have a way to battle against that sort of thing. So we need to figure out a way to have a little bit of a plan B for when a team comes and puts it on us a little bit. And now I don't think that's necessarily reflected of what last night was, because I think in that first half, Rotherham were absolutely terrible. They just looked, I was saying, I honestly don't understand why. I know the manager's like a caretaker, isn't he? But I was saying that I don't really understand how their manager is any different to any bloke you could just find on the street who just says, right, every time you get the ball, play it backwards until it gets to the goalkeeper, and then he'll hit it as hard as he can and then try and knock the ball down. That's all they did in the first half, and it was awful. We should have put them to the sword. We really should. We need to be so much more clinical. We're not at the moment, and it's costing us massively. Obviously, in the second half, they started to have a few little chances, but that came from us trying to stretch the play and score and making mistakes in the end that led to their goal, which we'll get into in more detail. But I just think we're not taking our chances as much as we should be. But just we talked about how we've thrown it away from a winning position, but that's actually the first time we've done that this season. There was a statistic that came up on the footage that said, I think it was 7 times we've scored first and 7 wins. And that's the first time we haven't won a game when we've scored first. So it's not the end of the world, but it's just disappointing to come back from international break and still be making the same mistakes that we were making before.
Yeah, we were talking before we came on and just going through the performance. It's the performance level that's led to some of these results. And if you go through them, away to Birmingham City, we were flat. Now, there was extenuating circumstances for that game. That was the Willie Gnonto strike game. But still, we were really flat in that game. You go into the Salford game, we were really flat in that game. Then you've got Sheffield Wednesday at home, 0-0. We were flat in that game. We had some great results in there as well. Hull City away wasn't great either. They need the second half against QPR. I keep going back to this. We were time wasting against 10 players in our own corner flag with 18 minutes to go. Then you had the first half against Norwich. You've got Stoke City. You've got the second half against Huddersfield Town. And this is where my take on it yesterday comes in. I feel like we're taking the foot off the gas, Kev, slightly earlier in every single game. You're 4-0 up at half-time against Huddersfield, and then the second half, we just didn't come out and they score. Then you go into Plymouth and you're 2-0 up at half-time and you're coasting. And you should be putting. But again, in that game, it felt like playing tippy-tappy around the edge of the box, looking for the perfect goal or looking to set up our mate to score, and there was no as Max said, there was no clinical nature about it. And there wasn't anybody going, let's stop mucking around and put the ball in the back of the net. Let's just go and bang, goal. Next one, right, bang, goal. Let's keep going. And then you can see in the second half of that game, you can't get going again. And nearly, arguably, Plymouth could have nicked a draw in that game. And then against Rotherham, you score inside 7 minutes, and we look like we're going to absolutely take them apart. And then we just step off the gas again. And except in this game, it was very hard for us to get ourselves going again. And we went back to an old Leeds issue of trying to break down a low block. And we again struggled in that area. We're lacking a creative number 10 in those situations. Piroe brought on to try and do something. He did a little bit, but not a lot. It seems to be a pattern, Kev, where it's maybe a little bit of, I don't know whether it's arrogance, complacency, or cockiness, or which one of the three it is, but it feels to me at times in games, we think we're better than we are. We think maybe we're the finished article, take the foot off the gas, and then concede silly goals. I mean, conceding goals against the likes of Plymouth, Huddersfield, Stoke City. You know, you want to win the league, you want to be beating these teams comfortably, and the pragmatism only works if you're keeping clean sheets.
I think there's a lot of what both of you just said there that seems to creep into our team when we're doing really well. I don't want to say this as in, but I think because Farke's build-ups to the games is always talking about showing the other team's respect, talking about their strengths and what they can do to us. But then when we get on the pitch, it's like some of the players don't show the opposition the respect that they deserve, and then we come across as quite arrogant as a team. From what I saw yesterday, the part from when we were breaking, there didn't seem to be too much team cohesion. I thought there was more. We were looking for more individual moments of brilliance rather than us knocking a few passes together and trying to break down, like you just said, the low block. Arrogance is the word that it just seems to be creeping into our game a little bit, especially the game like you just mentioned, Plymouth, Huddersfield, Hull, QPR, now Rotherham. Why are we not finishing these teams off early? And we had the chances yesterday. Piroe had a number of chances. His shots were tame, poor off target. But I did think his build-up play was quite good as well. It's just strange. And we're going to go back to that adage now again that we've been booming for months and months, is where's Piroe's best position for this team? Because yesterday he was like, I thought he was pressing more too. I know I'm going on a mad tangent here, guys. I'm sorry about this, but this is what's in my head. I thought when the game first started, I thought Piroe was playing actually up front because he was pressing loads in the first half, wasn't he? If maybe and Rutter was dropping off, but I don't. Again, arrogance from the team. Piroe just way off. I've just got so much to say, guys, and sorry about this. I'm just all over the place. I'm starting thinking about this from last night now. It's putting me in the right mood. But yeah, it's arrogance, mate. And I just think the manager says one thing and the team is showing something else onto it. Flicks, tricks all around, not coming off. They're trying to take on too many men, not playing the right ball. It just seems there weren't no cohesion in that game yesterday. But sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with everything you've said 100% because it is that piece. And Chris Somerville was excellent last night, but there are still moments in the game where you're like, release it earlier, let it go earlier, let it go. Stop trying to do it all on your own. Like Roar the same, Piroe the same. Like some of the decision making at times last night wasn't a team decision making. It wasn't about getting the best player and the best chance. I mean, there's two chances in the first half where, you know, Somerville should put in Piroe, but he doesn't. He puts in Kamara, whose shot is poor and hits the side netting. And then a couple minutes later, you've a ball dropping out of the sky, and Piroe kind of half-arses kind of the volley. It's not like, for me, that's the kind of a shot you take when you've heard the whistle go. You know, you just throw your leg at it and go, whatever.
That was a big chance. A very big chance.
He's a header inside the first 2 minutes as well, Kev. He's a really
Yeah.
good chance with the header inside the first 3 minutes. But in that situation, he's a chance where the ball's dropping out of the sky, and all he's got to do is just turn, chest that down to Chris Somerville. He's got a clean shot and goal, but he takes the shot himself and puts it over. And you can argue till the cats come home. You can, you know, cows come home, not cats. Cows
It's upset me a little bit. Sorry, guys. So
but there's so much stuff that you're right about, though. There's so much basic stuff, and it is basic stuff. And there is that piece of, well, like I can go on my own and have a shot here because we'll get another one in 2 minutes' time, and then somebody else can have a shot. But like, where's the teamwork? Where's the interplay of pass? And where's the trying to overload on teams? And then when you get in around the box, where's the clinical nature? Just go put your foot through the ball and hit the back of the net, and then just keep racking up goals. We did it against Huddersfield. We got 4 up, and then we took the foot off the gas. That's fine. If you want to get 4 up in every game before you take the foot off the gas, fine. But you can't start doing it at 2 goals. You can't start doing it at 1 goal. We're not there yet.
That's the issue, isn't it? As well, that we could have been 4-0 up against Rotherham. We could have been 4-0 up against Plymouth, but we haven't been. And that is one of our biggest things, is just put the ball in the back of the net, because the amount of chances we create, and like you say, they're probably thinking, there'll be another one in a minute, there'll be another one in a minute. But eventually those do dry up, and you start to get later into a game. And when a team like Rotherham was 1-0 down, they started to be compact and tight, not let another one in. And then they think, right, we can go and get something now. You've got to take the chances when they come, because you never know for how long they'll carry on coming.
Yeah. And again, if we go back, we were saying it all year. At some point, we're going to bounce somebody with all the chances that we're creating in games. And we still really haven't done it. Like, we still really haven't done it. I don't think we're clinical enough. The changes as well were interesting. Yeah. I did see the point of bringing Piroe on the 10, because I don't think we were being creative. I think the low block was a problem. Dan James comes up every time we're in these kind of games. And we've talked as well before about there's a time and place to play Dan James, and I think last night when the team is sitting so deep and there's so little space, it's not the moment for Dan James.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah, and that's not a criticism of Dan James. That's not to say he had a bad game last night, because
it's just not playing to his strengths, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's about horses for courses and about having the right players against the right opposition. And I thought last night a Willie Gnonto and what Gnonto I thought was very, very good when he came in, and then again, even at that, we didn't get the ball to him enough. 1-on-1, he was very good. We just weren't getting the ball to him enough. Jaden Anthony thought it was pretty good again when he came on. I want to get a couple of bits on that. I don't want to drain the ocean on the same players all the time, but there is a point to this. I thought some of the stick that Liam Cooper got last night was a little bit over the top online, because I watched Joe's match review of the game, which I thought was an excellent review, where it's the same thing we said before. If you're expecting Dan James to be a finisher, that's on you. That's not on Dan James. Dan James is not a finisher. If you're expecting Liam Cooper to be a fast defender, that's on you. That's not on Liam Cooper, because he's not a fast defender, and he got caught for pace last night a couple of times. He gets picked out by a lot of people for the goal. So did Meslier. But I think if you look at that goal that we've conceded, Max, you go all the way back. Junior Firpo concedes the ball, gives the ball away in a silly position after a really good spell of possession from Leeds, doesn't get back.
Yeah, and then there's
has it, loses it. Then it goes to then Cooper doesn't cover the run. Then it goes inside, and Archie and Rodon make a mess of it, and then it goes past Meslier. I mean, you could pick any number of players out of that and go, after all for that, I think it was harsh to pick out Meslier, because Meslier makes a really, really, really good save a couple of minutes later, with his feet, and he has to. So, I don't want to criticize a player without praising them as well, because Cooper also stops the ball from going into the back of the net as well by clearing them. So if you're going to praise, you've got to criticize, you've got to praise as well. So
it's easy to blame Cooper and Meslier because of the stick that they've had over the last couple of years. So people tend to just jump straight on that without actually looking at it. And if you watch it back, like you say, there's a litany of errors. There's so many players involved in that you can't blame just one player. It's like, okay, well, if this player had have made a tackle, or if this player had kept hold of the ball, it would have been fine. And the next player, and the next player, and the next player, and they are only one part of that. The big thing as well is that I listened to Ben Foster talk about this, and he said that this thing of people saying, "Oh, keeper should never get beat at his near post," it's absolute bollocks.
Nonsense.
Yeah, he said, look, if somebody hits it low and hard down there, it's still going to be difficult for you to get down to the floor and save that. And Meslier is a big lad. He's 6'5", 6'6", something like that. It's going to take him longer to get down to the ball and try and save that. I don't think you can possibly blame that on him. He's the last person that it comes to as well. So everybody else has all those opportunities to stop that chance before. And then if somebody hits it hard and low into the bottom corner, it doesn't matter if it's near post or far post, because it's still very difficult to save. So yeah, I don't think we can be blaming Meslier for that at all. No. There's a mix up between Archie Gray and Rodon towards the end as well. Neither of them get rid of the ball. Ampadu just doesn't quite make it to the ball, and then ends up out of the game, and he can't join in then. So yes, I think it's a shared responsibility between all of them. But with what you were talking about with Cooper as well, there's times where he is literally just the players looking at him and going, I can beat you for pace, and just going straight past him. But when you look, Junior Firpo's nowhere to be seen.
No.
It's a known quantity that Liam Cooper isn't fast. It's a known thing. So you don't just go, okay, we know about that level, let's just hope they don't exploit it. You go, okay, what can we do about that? And that means that the fullback needs to cover and needs to help him. Usually Joe Rodon does that, but when it's going down Cooper's left-hand side,
isn't it?
Yeah, and they're coming in and they're helping. And Firpo, I actually pointed it out when we were playing, when we had the ball, Archie Gray was so much deeper and more in a sort of defensive structure. Firpo was like off the screen sometimes. He was that high and wide, and it's like, I think he just wants to be a left midfielder. He's not in the right position, and it just is frustrating. But obviously, again, Firpo out of position and lost the ball, and he did a few okay things in that game. But also, he's not to blame for the entirety of that goal. It's a shared responsibility, and it's something that at least one person should have took the responsibility to stop happening.
It was a catalog of errors, really, weren't it? In my eyes. I just want to get something in about this Cooper speed debate. And again, Max, you just said it perfectly. That everyone knows about Cooper's speed. It's not some secret out there that nobody knows that Liam Cooper is a slow player. But there's two schools of thought with this. If it was the other way around and Dan James was doing it, we'd be going, Dan James is really fast. But because Cooper's been beat, it's Liam Cooper's really slow. And we all know. And what you said there, Joe, we would have been behind if it weren't for Liam Cooper. Because, I mean, that Ampadu mistake, I mean, I didn't see no one messing.
He's read that really well.
Yeah. Everyone's slating Cooper, but they're not.
I think that was also a handball.
Yeah,
when Ampadu diving headers that back in, he handballs it the striker, and there's another one that he doesn't pick up on.
But that's also credit to the goal. That's also additional credit to Cooper in that situation. And again, because some players go, that's a handball, I'll just stop and put my hand up in the air and wait for the referee to blow the whistle. Cooper doesn't. He gets back in behind the keeper. So I have no problem. I've always said this. I have no problem with criticizing players. I don't think we're as good a team when Cooper's in the team. I don't think we're as good a team when Firpo's in the team. I think defensively we look a lot shakier when both of them are in that team. I didn't like watching Junior Firpo. A couple of nice things, but Sam Byram is by far a better left back than him. I mean, a mile of a difference. The one-on-ones with Sam Byram, people just don't get past him. Firpo gets beaten. You know, he doesn't leave gaps in behind for players to get in. He reads the game well. He covers Cooper well. He covers Stroke well when he's in there. Junior Firpo just doesn't do that. He's a left wing back. He wants to be a left wing back, and he wants to bomb on. I think you'd said it yourself, Max. How long did it take for Firpo to get back into picture after he'd lost that ball? And it was nearly 10 seconds?
Yeah,
before we even saw him trotting back into picture. Like, you should have been busting a gut to get back into your position. You've lost the ball, pal. You know. Now there's a lot of other players after that need to happen. But yeah, I just don't think we're as strong as I would either two at the minute. But there was just, I mean, no one, I don't want to point a finger at anyone individually, because I don't think you can point a finger at anyone individually about that goal. I think it's as Kev said, litany of errors. When we go further up the pitch, and we saw a change made in the second half, and I want to get your opinion on this. And Pat Bamford comes on up top, and we go to nearly a front five again with Piroe and Bamford playing side by side as 2 9s. Kev, what was your take on Bamford's performance when he came on, and where's your head at with the whole Patrick Bamford situation? It's a big question.
Yeah, I've always been an advocate of people playing their way back into a side, and I'm always open for a lovely redemption arc of any single player, any player at all. But again, he just looked like he's no cohesion from him, from the team. Doesn't know what's going on around him. Bambi on ice. His touches were terrible. Offside. It's not reading the line. I think it's the end for Patrick Bamford at Leeds now. If he can't play well against a team that in the bottom of the league, he's done. He's done for me. I just can't see any way back for Patrick Bamford. As much as I like him as a bloke and what he's done for the team over the years, it's like he's doesn't know what's going on with any of the other players around him. Doesn't know their game. Doesn't know what pass they're going to make. And then I guess we've seen the disallowed goal, haven't we? And what happened there? It's just so disappointing. I feel like I want to cry. It's just so sad, because I used to love Patrick Bamford and I still love him as a man. But no, he's not. He can't play for us anymore.
Yeah, to be very clear, we're talking about a performance and nothing else. We're not talking about personal stuff. We're talking about a performance, and we're keeping it around the performance. Max, what about you?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. He seems like he's playing his own game. And sometimes he will just take the ball 35 yards out and just have a shot. And you go,
That's crazy.
When's Patrick Bamford ever scored from that distance? Even that year where he was brilliant in the Premier League, his furthest shot out, I think, was just on the edge of the box. But he was like 35 yards out, and just the keeper just went and just let it go past his post. And it's like, you've got to try to look for a pass and be involved. And I think is a little bit of wanting to be the hero, maybe. I'm not inside his head, but just wanting to try and bring himself back into the good graces of everybody at Leeds too quickly, rather than just playing your game, just getting into things, just making sure you do your best, do your bit, and play as part of the team, and maybe not stand out, but people will be like, okay, he was decent tonight. Rather than, I think he wants to go out and go, bang, top corner goal, and everyone go, oh, Bamford's back, and all that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm not inside his head, but that's what shooting from that distance and not passing and some of the other things he was doing, that's what it gives off to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi's playing up here, lads. Apologies. I'm plugged in here and it's still giving me issues. In 1 second. I
think Max is right though. Really, I think he's got some sort of hero complex now after everything that's gone on with all these penalty misses, with the stuff that he's got from fans, cupping his ear to the fans at Nottingham Forest. There's definitely some sort of complex there, and I agree with you, Max. He just wants to get that goal so everyone loves him again, and I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, so everybody's back on the bandwagon and goes, "Oh yeah, he's back. He's good again." And
Bamford's back.
But isn't the best way to do that to do exactly what you've already said? It's not to go give me the ball, I'll score goals. It's to get involved and get assists and tee up players and do the hard work and run off the ball and. That's how you work your way back. No. I don't know where I am. I agree that he's playing his own game. I think it's the best way I've actually heard anybody put it so far. When you do look at it, I still think he's playing the same football he was asked to play 2-3 years ago, except the team's not playing that style of football anymore, and those opportunities for balls in behind aren't coming to him anymore. And again, you're playing against a low block, stay on side, and he's consistently offside. The thing for me is I would just rather look to the future, or what young exciting players. I'd rather see maybe Nanto's the option that goes in as a number 9 because he's done it so well for Italy. I mean, he scored 4 goals in a week for Italy where he's played as a number 9. Matteo Joseph is smacking goals in for the England under-20s as well as Leeds under-21s. At some point, these kids are going to have to be good enough to replace. I mean, do we keep looking to the past and saying, well, you're going to get us out of trouble again? Or do we start looking to the future of going, this is the next, stage of the league? You go back to the O'Leary era, the Liverpool game specifically, when he brings on a young Alan Smith who goes and sticks one in the bottom corner, that was looking to the future. That was a brave move to get a goal in a game that you needed. But you bring a young, exciting player on. You don't look at the bench and go for the lads that are finishing their career. You go for the next guy up and you start pushing them forward. And if we're going to be getting these kind of leggy performances from experienced players, then we've got to look at removing them from the equation and look into the future. And if those young players then aren't good enough, then you've got a January window where you need to really go and strengthen those positions, because I don't think it's working necessarily between the 9 and 10 position as it is. And then the backup options we've got, I don't think are good enough.
Everyone's talking about how it's probably the end and the last season for Cooper, for Ayling, for Bamford. So there needs to be a transition period, and you don't want that transition period to be after they've gone. So then you go, okay, well, we're only relying on Matteo Joseph and Nonto and whoever else, right? You don't want that to be as soon as they've gone, because then you might be like, oh, they're out, they're not good enough. You need to find out whilst you've still got those other older options and start giving them game time. And look, if Matteo Joseph comes in or Nonto comes in at striker and they're really not performing, then you've got reason to go, okay, well, let's go for a bit more experience and try Bamford then. But if you're not going to give them the chance to start with, then it's like, there needs to be that transition period. You don't want that to happen at the wrong time. You want that to happen whilst you've still got those other players. So you've still got backup if it doesn't work with the young players. And that, it just gives everybody a little bit more chance to bed themselves in as youngsters. And it's just frustrating to see.
Yeah, and I'm not, by the way, because I don't like that term of give the kids a chance. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm talking about giving exciting players that are in form who are scoring goals, whose confidence levels are high. Willie Gnonto right now, 4 goals in a week for Italy. Confidence is high, playing as a striker. Matteo Joseph has on the back of a couple of really, really good weeks for club and country. Sorry, lads, my Wi-Fi keeps freezing.
It's okay, we're still here.
Yeah, we're still here, mate. It's all good.
That's all right. Yeah, it's what was the point I'm making there? Yeah, it's not about giving the kids a chance. It's about playing players that are in confidence and have momentum going into games. And Pat Bamford for me doesn't have confidence and doesn't have momentum, you know. And I think it's important, like instinctive moments in games. You do that when you're on form. You do that when your confidence is high. You know, ball drops from the edge of the box, and it's a snatch shot. If you're in confidence, if you're going through a confidence spell, if you're in form, you put them in the back of the net. If you're not, you take 2 or 3 touches and you lose possession of the ball and the move fades out. So. The other thing I wanted to get to, because I don't want to spend too much time on Pat Bamford, but it was disappointing last night. He comes on and just nothing happens. Like nothing happens outside of more frustration. I mean, the 35-yard shot was just nonsense. It was just a ridiculous thing to be doing at that point when you've got other players around you. Just again, bad decision making, and he wasn't on his own last night with the bad decision making. That should be said as well. There was plenty of players that wasted opportunities last night as well. So I suppose the last thing, this won't be a very long podcast today because it is, I suppose, it's a match review more than anything else, but I've been thinking this for a while. I've said it a couple of times, not an awful lot, but I've said it a few times. I think there's something missing still from this team. I'm starting to figure out what I think it is, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Max. What's missing, or is there anything that's missing? Is it just hard work now, or are we missing something?
Well, I still think there's just lacking a little. I mean, it sounds strange to say that we're lacking a bit of creativity, but it's not. It's a very specific type of creativity, and it's somebody who. I mean, okay. So one thing I thought was quite good last night was that there was a moment where we could really compare the way that somebody like Rotherham are and somebody like Leeds are. And there was a moment where they were sat on the edge of their box and we were trying to break them down. And every time the Leeds player got the ball, they tried to go forward. They were trying to go forward, trying to open up a gap, trying to get somebody a chance to have a shot. Whereas somebody like Rotherham would just see that they've got no chance and then they'd go back and back and back. Whereas we were trying to go forward, even when we were on the edge of their box. But there isn't anybody with the passing quality and the sort of vision to open up and unlock a really tight defense. And I think you need to have somebody in there who can just drop a shoulder and play a ball straight through, because you saw so many times players were trying to play little reverse passes or little passes through the defense and they were just getting blocked every time. You need somebody with that, just that little extra, that Pablo bit of magic, somebody who can actually thread that ball through. Because in games like this, when you're just playing on the edge of their box and you just can't get a shot away, it's really frustrating. So Elias Chair is somebody who I really like and I think would do really well in this team. And then that allows you to have Piroe actually up front. And I think it would work better. I think you then allow Jorginho to be on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, and you can drift inside and it gives you options that way. Yeah. And then if later on in the game, if it's not working for Chair, you can swap it around to what we've got now, and then you bring somebody else on who's one of our wingers. And I just feel like it gives us more options, and that would be my priority to go out and get, I think.
Yeah. Kev, what about you, mate?
Oh, exactly. Pablo missing. One of the things, if we got that Pablo sort of player, do you remember when Buendia used to play for Farker at Norwich? He used to play like where Dan James was, but then he used to drift into the middle and start causing chaos everywhere. I think if we had a proper number 10, I think Rutter could play that role of sort of where Buendia is, because outside of Rutter, who's playing those amazing key passes that play splitting defenses, which we're crying out for? There isn't anyone really. So if we went out there and brought that actual number 10, and then you could still have this number 10, Piroe and Rutter all in the same side, I think that's what Farker wants now. You can see he's playing Piroe there and it's just not working. We all know that he's scoring goals, but we could be scoring a lot more goals.
That's the point, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, like we keep saying this, we've said it during the better results. It's not that we're saying Rutter or Piroe should come out of the team. We're saying if you swap them around, maybe it's even better than it is.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Piroe scores more goals, maybe Rutter gets more assists. Because again, we look last night, the assist that comes from Rutter, where does he pick up that ball and where does he play it through? He's in a deeper position. Yeah. Like he's in a deep position.
And also that's the one of the only sort of passes that you would expect Pablo Hernandez to be the only person who could pull off that we've seen this season, because he did that. He did that a few times and just Pablo, I mean, just one where it just first time around the corner and we scored goals off it. And Rutter did that with that pass and
He's done it
obviously
a couple
went
of
in and
times this year,
scored.
Max,
And,
as well.
Yeah.
He's back to Jaden Anthony's first goal for us, and that was that lovely ball that was bent around the whole back four from his own half. Like, again, for really the position. But if you've got, to Kev's point, if you bring in a natural number 10, you can play Rutter in those deeper, wider areas to let him. So you've got 2 or 3 players that can kind of create chances and open things up, and let Piroe be a number 9, because I'm not sold on this he can't press thing, because I'm not really sure how much we actually press in that kind of way. Our press is more of a kind of we all push up the park and we're just kind of reduce the space rather than having 2 or 3 players running to try and.
It was pressing last night. It was pressing last night. He was the most forward pressing. I can see he pressed the most, but that takes me on to something else. Okay, so I don't want to look at this out the way, but then you notice Rutter holding his hip for a lot of that game last night. So maybe he's asked Piroe to do that pressing because Rutter was injured. And
he can do it.
That's what I think. And was playing Rutter a mistake last night? Because he didn't look on it, did he, at all? No, every person I've spoken to, and I've seen everywhere, he was not. I know he got the assist for the goal, and he did some good passes in that round, but he wasn't at 100%. And if that could have affected the way that we played. But yeah, Piroe was pressing for Rutter last night because he was injured. I'm telling you. Yeah, and all of us saw it holding his hip. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that means he can do the press if he has to.
Yes, it does.
Play him in the number 9, let him do the press, because again, and if it is a case that he's not the number 9, if you do want to bring in number 10 and play Rutter as the number 9, fine, then Piroe doesn't play, and then maybe he's the player you're bringing off the bench to try and impact the game in number 9, not Pat Bamford. It just the pecking order gets better then. But it's I agree. I think we're missing. I think we're desperately missing a creative number 10. This is no criticism on Joe Piroe at all. This is no reflection on the system. This is just a case of the kind of job that Joe Piroe is doing as number 10 is a tidy link into play, but it's nothing spectacular.
It's the same thing we were talking about with Dan James being played in a game where it's just not to his strengths, and Piroe's playing in a position that's just not to his strengths. Really, he's okay at bouncing the ball off him and just doing those little tapped passes back to players, but I've not seen him make one sort of incisive pass that goes through the lines. I don't think I've ever seen him make a pass like that. So, I mean, someone will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but not from memory anyway. Certainly not as much as we've seen other players.
Yeah, it's not a regular occurrence, which it should be for number 10.
I thought he lost the ball quite a lot last night as well in deeper positions, Piroe. Normally, he's quite good at holding it up and then laying it off to someone else. But I did think that he tried to go past a few people. It didn't work. And he actually lost the ball a few times. I
felt there was a general issue last night with overcarrying the ball from a lot of players. A lot of times we overcarried it, ran into. We kind of reduced the amount of space that we did have in behind at times. We didn't move the ball quick enough. We tried to, close the space ourselves with the ball at our feet. And then by the time we look to get a pass in, it's super compact, it's super congested. There's no space in behind. We do let it go. So, I mean, there was a lot of things. I felt looking at Daniel Farke walking off last night at halftime, especially. I thought they were going to get a kick up the backside at halftime because he went down the tunnel before the halftime whistle even went. He looked angry. He looked really annoyed. And he's like a couple of times this year where he's looked annoyed when they've been overplaying the ball. He made a comment, Kev, after the game. And I kind of jumped on it on Twitter and I was like, there it is. He's finally said it. There it is. And what he said was that he felt the players enjoyed the domination too much.
Yeah. Arrogance.
And that's where the arrogance thing and the overplaying, the cockiness came in for me. And that did you take that from that as well, or was am I stretching?
I'll be honest. I turned it off the minute the final whistle went. I turned it off and I went and sat in a dark room for 3 hours on my own. But yeah, but no, obviously not. But yeah, I didn't watch any of that. I weren't in the right frame of mind to watch Daniel Farke explain or any of the other players talking about the game. I haven't watched anything back at all. But from what I saw your tweet, and I agree with what you said. I think it's cockiness and arrogance that's come through, and I think maybe go back to basics because these games are going to come thick and fast now. And if we're being arrogant and everyone, I mean, look at Tuesday's game. Tuesday's not going to be an easy game at all, I think. And I know we're at home, but you know what Leeds are like in a midweek game as well. It can be a bit strange. And never ever wear that away kit ever again. 924 days since we've won in the away kit. That
Well,
is a
it's
Leeds
not just
stat,
that
yeah.
away kit. It's every away
Yeah.
kit for the
It's
last
every
3
away
years.
kit, yeah.
It's just been,
But that's
and
a
it's
proper
look,
Leeds stat, that, isn't it? Yeah. Leeds
I know. I
stat.
sat there last night, and I said it last week, and I probably should have said it last week. I was like, it's just a kit. It's just a
Yeah.
jersey. It doesn't mean anything. But it's when you're not winning in it, and when you lose the game, or you
Yeah.
drop points, like
Yeah.
anything. So yeah, Max, what did you think about Farke's comments after the game? Did you take anything from that, or again, am I stretching?
I, like Kev, just turned it off straight away afterwards. But from what you've said, I think there is a little bit that, yeah. And I also don't know if arrogance is the right word. I think I would go for complacency. Because I don't think that the players that we have, a lot of them don't, like, they seem like they've got their heads switched on, and they're not like cocky and arrogant players, which you've seen at other clubs before. And it's always been a thing for us in the recent years to go, do you know what? Ben Rama's just uploaded a full feature length movie of a haircut. So he seems like he's a bit up himself. We won't sign him. So I think we generally sign quite good lads. And so I think cocky, I don't know. It just gives me connotations that they're arrogant as people. Do you know what I mean? But I do think that it's complacency, which can be a similar thing in this situation. It's just them thinking that they've won it, and I don't necessarily think that it's arrogance, but complacency certainly is that, oh yeah, we've got this now. It's because it feels like we did have it, didn't it? But you can't take the foot off the gas if it feels like you're gonna romp it. You have to go and do it and then take your foot off the gas. So it's frustrating to watch. And going back to Daniel Farke's comments, I think that's what he's saying. He's saying, look, these need to get it into their heads that just because they've scored a goal and they're dominating a game doesn't mean you've automatically won it, and especially not in the Championship.
You've won nothing till the final whistle goes and you're walking off the park. You've won nothing until that point. Like it's still the balance. We've seen us throw away leads. We've seen us close leads. The game is never over until it's over. So and I keep going back to it. The reason I bring it up and the reason I asked the question, and I think complacency is probably, it borders on arrogance, but not arrogance from an individual's perspective, arrogance from a footballing perspective. We're better than these. We know we're better than these.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, not as in like an individual person. Because
I get that.
We've got some really, really good, great lads on this team, and they're
all
likable.
The complacency is where that comes in. Then it's a case of, well, we can keep doing what we're doing. We'll score another 2 or 3 at some point anyway. And I think because of that, we kind of maybe don't take some of the chances that we get seriously enough. We're not, we're not effective enough at times when we've got good chances to score goals or to, set a teammate up for an easier chance. We go for a more complicated one. So I think that's where it makes it for me. I agree what you've all said. I would like to see a bit of back to basics for the midweek game. I'd like to see go back to, just getting at a team, and maybe there's changes made. Maybe there's some changes needed there. I'd like to see Stroud come back in at centre back. And again, it's not a criticism of Liam Cooper. Liam Cooper is the player he is, and we know what he's like, and it's not him. But he does slow the game down when he comes out with the ball. Whereas Pascal Stroud, you saw the difference. He's on the park a couple of minutes. He's bursting forward with the ball. If there's no one to pass the ball to, he's running into the space with the ball quickly, and it's faster. And I'd like to see Sam Byron come back in at left back and let's just stop mucking around with that.
I didn't like it when Stroud came on though, because it made me cringe that he's obviously only just had that surgery and he's got stitches and stuff, and I was thinking, oh god, please don't tear your stitches or something. I was like,
nearly won it for us though, didn't he?
Yeah.
He nearly won it for us.
As the point was made, all the goals he scored from corners have been on the ground. His head, not so great. He should score a lot more goals.
It's a 50p piece.
If he just lets that ball, Jermaine Beckford was dead right on Sky Sports. If he just lets that ball hit his head and go right back where it came from, it goes into the corner. They're trying to head it down. He had a lot more time than they thought he had, I think. But he was very good when he came on. And I thought I actually considering we're chasing the game, a defender coming on was actually making a difference at times. Yeah. So again, I think he's coming off a long way in 12 months that he's gone from a position of being a player we wouldn't have really batted an eyelid, been out of the side, to being a player that we're now looking at going, well, his confidence is back. He's starting to show the potential he had before. We're now in a position where he needs to be in that team. But again, I think Sam Byron needs to be in that team as well. And I think there is a bit of work needed in January now. I think we do need better cover at the defensive positions if we're going to progress forward. We probably need to go and buy an actual left back, and we definitely need number 10. So I think there's still a bit of work there for Leeds. I think the idea of going into this window as a loan window might not be what they have to do if they want to get out of the division as comfortably as we need to. Like, we can't. I said it during the week to Joe, can't lose games, can't drop points. Can't. Got to keep winning at this stage now. Got to put the pressure on them. Coming this weekend, the goal was put the pressure on all the sides. Southampton right behind us. We could drop to 4th tomorrow. By the end of today, we could be 4th. If Southampton win today, we just teams behind us closing gaps and the teams ahead of us. We needed to put pressure on all of them today by getting 3 points last night, and we've given them a little bit of a break. If they drop points today, not the end of the world. If we'd won the game, much bigger pressure. It's 5 points. And it's a bigger problem. So it could be a good point because teams have dropped points at Rotherham. You know, Ipswich have gone down there and dropped points. Other teams have gone down there and dropped points. It's not the easiest place to go to, especially midweek. It could end up being a decent point coming down to the end of the road, or it could be a disaster result depending on how the weekend goes. But I suppose time will tell. Max, any last thoughts before we close up today?
Yeah, I did want to mention a little bit because now that we've talked about everything that Leeds could have done better, we've said that it's Leeds' fault that we didn't win that game. We've gone through everything. So I'm not making excuses now, but I think the refereeing is shocking. Dan James, the Lee Peltier on Dan James, I'm sorry, but that's a red card and a penalty all day, every day. In modern football, if he got the ball, yeah, but he went over the top of the ball, studs up into Dan James's shin, halfway up his shin. It's a red card. So Cooper got sent off against City that game where we won, where Dallas scored that last minute winner.
Out of control,
yeah, he got the ball out of control, goes straight through, studs up, penalty, red card, and yeah, it's just a joke. And as well, like we talked about before, I just mentioned it briefly, where Ampadu tried to dive and header back to Meslier, and it hit the player's hand. That's how we controlled it, and then took it around the keeper, and Cooper saved it with his heel. But yeah, I think week in, week out, there's mistakes, and to be balanced as well, there's been games where Cooper came on the other week, gave away a penalty, wasn't given. Ampadu did it as well. Ampadu gave away what should have been a penalty. I'm not sure who that was against. It might have been Watford or someone like that. I can't remember, but he basically fouled someone in the box, and that wasn't given as well. So
that was Plymouth last week.
Plymouth
was it?
Weeks ago, yeah. Plymouth,
right, yeah, and yeah. So it just needs to be better. But then they've got the audacity to get the Bamford one right, which was like really tight, and he came back and got a tiny little touch on the ball, and you get that one right. There's somebody put a meme online of basically like their eagle eye vision when Bamford's offside, but when the Peltier goes over the ball, he was Hans Moleman off The Simpsons, the blind guy.
Yeah, but to go back to your point, we got away with 2 big ones in the last couple of weeks as well with Cooper and Ampadu. There's 2 penalties against us there that would have changed results in those games as well. Like, it would have been 2-2 against Plymouth. You know, it would have dropped points there again. So I do take the point that it swings it around about when it comes to that kind of stuff, and that's why it's better to have no VAR than VAR. I thought it was surprising last night that Daniel Farke brought the point up of saying if we have VAR, we win that game. Considering a week where everyone's been talking about how great football's been without VAR in a championship, you know, if a mistake is made, it's a mistake. You get on with it. Referee will make a mistake next week for another club, which is what we're talking about here. I don't think it excuses how bad. Sorry, I don't think it excuses the fact that we dropped points in that game, but there are additional factors when it doesn't go your way. Pat Bamford is offside. He's a half yard offside. Yeah. You know, he's a clear half a body offside. So I've no problem with that decision because
it was offside. Yeah.
The Dan James one, I think it happened so quickly because it is a real quick ricochet of a ball. When I watched it back the first time, I didn't see the tackle. Referee seems to be behind the player. That's the referee's fault for bad positioning, but it's a very bad tackle. I think if there is VAR and if it does go to the Premier League, I think that's a penalty and a red card. But I don't think they were the reasons we didn't get 3 points in those games. No. But at the same time, you'd like to see those kind of things go your way. Kev.
Yeah, I was going to talk about referee decisions again, but no, I do think Nonto might be given a chance against Swansea on Tuesday, Wednesday. I think he deserves it. Played well when he come on. We've mentioned that. I think Dan James probably had his worst game this season for us yesterday. It's just one of them. We just have to go and win the next 2-3 now. Have to just to put the pressure on everyone else, and it's going to be hard. But it's all down to us. We know what sort of team we are. We go on runs, don't we? So.
Yep. This result doesn't look too bad if we go and get 6 points from the next 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look as bad. But I mean, we should be beating a team like Rotherham with the defence had the combined age of about 400 years old. So
Ayala was still playing. I couldn't believe when I saw him on the practice. He's still playing.
Peltier's 36.
I know, yeah. He should have had a much tougher night last night than he had because the first 10 minutes it looked like he was going to be in for a tough night, and then we again took the pressure off him.
How old's Morrison as well? It was Rotherham.
Yeah, but there's a lot of experience there versus a lot of youth as well. So I mean, experienced players can be clever, especially around younger players when they need to be. So, but just a multitude of factors. But look, as you said, If you look at the international breaks recently, we've come back with a win after the international break, followed by a defeat, followed by 3 wins. If this is our slip up now, the next international break isn't until March. We've got a great chance to go on a big long run, get a couple of wins in the next week and fix this. Hopefully results go away over the weekend. If they don't go this weekend, there's still plenty of games left. It's not the end of the world. The world isn't on fire. We're not going to lose out promotion because of this game. You know, there's plenty of time. There's just plenty of opportunities. You know, as I said, teams have to still go down to New York and play there as well. So it's not been an easy
place. Sounds so strange saying that, isn't it?
I know, it just sounds crazy, yeah.
Going to Rotherham to New York. Yeah, it's teams have to go there. And as I said, Ipswich are taking points off them this year as well down there. I think they took points off Sunderland as well. So they've taken points off teams down there before. Other teams have to go there as well. We'll see how Leicester get on after their 2 defeats going into the break and how they recover from that and how they get on today as well. And we'll see where we are. It could end up being a decent point come the end of the season. It might end up being a bad night in points drop, but I think it's not one game we'll look at. I think we'll look at a lot of these games early on in the season and go, yeah, against the lesser sides, we've let ourselves down, but against the top sides, we've looked really, really good. And we just need to make sure that we can take the form against the good sides into the games against the weaker sides and actually start doing a professional job on those teams. But Max, anything going on your channel this week you'd like to pump?
Well, from earlier this week, Dream Teams with Ollie Ward's out, and that's a good laugh. So I'd recommend going and checking that one out.
I'll link it at the end of this as well. I'll put it down in the corner down here somewhere.
Cheers.
On the screen. And Kev, anything on with Leeds House?
Yeah, we're going to be recording tomorrow, Sunday night. And we also did Not Another Leeds podcast last night. If anybody wants to go check that out, it's really funny. It's obviously, it's before Rotherham, but yeah, so everyone's in jolly good spirits. We had a good laugh. Yeah, we're recording Leeds House tomorrow night. Should be out tomorrow night or Monday morning. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. And I will be on. I think Max, you might be there later on as well on Joe's show for the
final word.
Yeah, final word at 8:00 tonight as well. So, we'll leave it there, folks. Massive thanks as always to everyone who supports the channel. Thank you and to Max for joining in again. And I will talk to you very soon. Have a great day and great weekend. See you soon. Bye.